It takes just as much energy to do a big deal as it does a small deal, right? What's the average profit you guys usually make on flipping a house?
Trying to make 40.
You know, on the ground up side, you're probably going to double that, more like 80 to 100.
I mean, you're 29 and you've done $30 million of development so far. How do you, as a developer, make money?
There's really three big things you have to master. You got to understand your construction cost. The debt structure is one of the most important things as well. The third component is then...
What's up, wealth builders? Today, I've actually got somebody from our coaching program who's doing things that we don't usually teach too much. He's actually doing development, and he's doing it at 29 years old with over $30 million worth of apartments developed. His family has actually built the #1 rated resort in Oregon, which actually includes a golf course. So I'm going to pick his brain today about developing amazing properties, because you guys know I want to one day develop a golf course. I got Dirk Vandervelt. What's up, man?
How's it going, Ryan? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you came, dude. It's exciting to have a guy who's built a golf course on the show. Well, your family, and you've been a part of it. I mean, you've seen it firsthand, and let's jump right into that, dude.
Yeah, I didn't build it myself, but I watched my father and mother do it. My father was a European tour player.
Yep.
Mother was a school teacher. Big dreamers, always big dreamers. We grew up in the Netherlands. And once my dad retired from the European tour, his next dream was to build his own golf course. So in their fashion, right, a European tour player and a school teacher who are big, big dreamers, they partnered up with one of their best friends and they built what is today, actually this year, got voted the #1 resort in the Pacific Northwest.
And what's that resort called?
It's called Tetherow Resort.
Yeah. And so they built the actual course on there, and then like the resort itself, it's mainly just hotel. And do people like live there or anything?
Yeah, they live there. So it's a golf course, beautiful golf course. You'd love it.
Yeah.
It's Scotch link style. David McClay Kidd, he designed it. And it's a membership base, so people live there. It's on a 720 acre piece of property. There's members that live there year round, and then there's 50 hotel rooms, boutique, beautiful hotels, restaurants, rec center, as well as vacation rentals. So
how are like the economics on all that? Because I mean, like your family, like you said, your dad's a dreamer. He grew up literally like playing golf professionally, so he knows like what that's all about. And Oregon's a beautiful spot. You know, how do you just all of a sudden decide to go build a golf course and like a hotel along with it?
Yeah, my dad always jokes like it happened. He's a developer by default. So when we first moved over, we moved over from the Netherlands, 2005. He finished his European tour playing, then he coached for the Netherlands. So he became a coached the Dutch Federation, took them to a World Cup. They won the World Cup in golf, said, okay, that's a big accomplishment. What's next? So he wanted to start a golf course. So he came over. We used to vacation from the Netherlands. We would vacation in Central Oregon. It's a destination town, Beautiful place.
Yep.
And slowly but surely, every time we would go there, my mom and dad would dream about moving there. Right, they would dream about moving there every year. They would talk about it, and so then the idea came: hey, let's develop a golf course here. Originally he got hired on as the developer's representative for the golf course. So he came on and he was there working with David McClay Kidd and his team as the development representative, sculpting the golf course, talking about what they should do, where they should put the bunkers, how they should lay out the greens, right? So he sculpted that, and it took him from 2005 to 2008 to get everything built the golf course, get the plats, and then boom, the original developer, as 2008 hits, the original developer goes into default. We were packing up all of our boxes. We were actually going to move back to the Netherlands. My dad lost his job. We were going to move back to the Netherlands. And then through a series of conversations and relationships, the bank who actually took over the golf course reached out to him and said, hey, can you help us sell this thing? He said, yeah, I'll help you sell it. And a light bulb went off in his head. One of his best friends who did really, really well in oil always wanted a golf course. So in a 3-month period, he brought his friend over. They looked at it, purchased it, and then, like he says, he was a developer by default.
He just built around it.
Yeah, they bought the course, the clubhouse. Nothing else was done yet. They had like 3 homes that were sold, and then step by step they built the hotels, they built the rec centers, they sold the lots, and as everything came out of 2008, they ended up on the right side of it, and it's turned out to be good.
So they still own it to this day?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they just make cash flow from the business on the course and the hotel and everything?
Yeah, the biggest thing is the membership, right?
Yeah.
That's your biggest reoccurring.
How much is the membership fee there?
Yeah, so I think it's too low, but I think right now it's like $650 for a golf membership monthly.
Yep.
There's a,
that's very cheap.
Yeah, that's what I always say. There's a deposit fee that goes in, and then for a social membership, it's $300 or $400. So.
And then what's like the initiation fee?
It's a $50,000 non-refundable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So $50K to join, which very normal in a lot of nice courses. And then, $650 a month is cheap.
Yeah. So when you develop your course, one thing that, I've looked at, all those master plan developments, they get dictated by something called the CC&Rs, your covenants. You already know about it.
Yep, the HOA.
Yep, the HOA, et cetera. Well, one of the challenges was the original developer had written into those CC&Rs that you could only increase the dues by 4% every year.
Oh,
well, we were in a bad economic time, right? So rather than increase dues, we were just trying to get people to move
pay.
there. So the key would have been once you record those and people start buying, you have to get, like, depending on the document, either 75% of the homeowners to vote for adjusting them, amending them, or sometimes it's even 90%. The key would be when you develop your resort, you don't tie it to a 4%, you just tie it to CPI, right? You can increase dues tied to the CPI.
Yeah.
And it automatically happens every year so that you don't fall behind on your, on your membership growth. We would probably be talking $1,500 a month, $1,600 a month if it was tied in that manner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say
a lot of the courses I'm in are $1,500 to $2,000 a month.
Which is where it would be if the raises were happening or it was tied to CPI, right? Then you get, once you're stuck, you're kind of stuck. So
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things I love about real estate is that, you take, in this case, a piece of land in the middle of Oregon, right? And so some guy looks at it one day and it's like, this would be a great spot for a golf course.
Yeah.
I'm gonna build a business on here. Then a real estate guy looks at it and is like, well, we should build some houses. We should build a hotel. We should build another business. And it's like, it's just this one plot of land, whatever someone imagines ends up becoming the business. Yeah. And that's what attracts me so much to developing a golf course community one day is like, let's just say you go get this amazing piece of land in Oregon, for instance, and you can go get it for $10 million. And all of a sudden you could go literally create $1 billion of value on this piece of land. You build the right homes, you get the right amenities, you get the right businesses on it. I mean, you could create $1 billion of economic value. It's not hard to do. Well, I don't want to say it's not hard, but it's very feasible.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. That's even my addiction on the ground up game too, right? You take an idea.
Yeah.
You see if it's financially feasible, and then you get to bring it to life every single day. And there's nothing like doing that. It's an addicting process, and there is a lot of equity creation there, right? A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, a ton, both on, if you do it on a single family side, right? Let's say you're going to flip a house. Flipping a house, what's the average profit you guys usually make on flipping a house?
We aim for 10%.
10%. So what in a number like 30?
Yeah. So I mean, if our
grand?
average house, the median house right now is 400 grand. So we're trying to make 40.
Yeah, make 40 on a ground up game. On the ground up side, you're probably going to double that, more like 80 to 100, right? Now it's going to take a little bit longer, probably double the time. You're not going to be able to just put lipstick on it, but there's definitely a lot more equity creation in there. There's a lot more profit in there.
Yeah.
If you do it right.
Yeah. The thing I like about development too, so this is all my theory and talking to guys like you and, other big guys, but it's just like, you have to find less deals. If I want to go do 100 house flips, it's like, all right, well, I got to find 100 different deals, negotiate them all and try to make my 10%. With development, it's like, all right, well, you could go find one piece of land. You got your 100 lots, go build.
Yeah.
And you got your 100 deals in one transaction. And now, you're going to spend the next few years, doing them, but still. It's a different ballgame. And it's actually more certain than a flip because your cost, it's just there. We're not getting into these flips that, we get into something and now we're like, oh boy, here's another extra 20 grand that we didn't see before and all that. Yeah,
exactly. When you're doing a flip, you don't know exactly what's behind the walls, and it is tricky. I mean, even in the ground up game, you said it right. It's like it takes just as much energy to do a big deal as it does a small deal, right? Same process, same timeline. So you might as well do a big deal. Might as well do 100 lots, right? Rather than, I've learned that lesson the hard way. I had two houses 60 miles away, right? We're doing the same exact house on infill lots. I'll never do that again. I will only build, now I build in threes, right? If I'm going to do something, I'm going to build in threes or fives or tens. I'm not, it's just
like
not
all in the
worth it.
same like vicinity.
Yeah, same subdivision, exactly like you said, right? Because if I'm 60 miles apart, right, then you have to factor in my superintendents have to drive both ways. You just have to factor in all these things, and I learned that the hard way, you know. So
yeah, I mean, you're 29 and you've done, you said $30 million of, you know, development so far. So like what has that consisted of?
Yeah, we just finished up an 84 unit. My first big deal I ever put together was an 84 unit deal. 6 buildings.
Tell me about the 84 unit deal.
Yeah. So it's 6 buildings. The land was as you know, real estate's a relationship game. So one of my best friends, he's a local realtor. He was at church, and a guy that owned a property, a guy bought 10 acres, super smart guy. Kind of goes back to what you're saying. He bought 10 acres, subdivided it into 4 lots, built 110 assisted living units. That's his business, right? And then he had 2 more lots that he was selling. He told my buddy Jake at a Bible study one night, hey, I'm trying to sell this land. Do you have anybody that would be interested? He brought it to me. We looked at it quickly. We were able to very quickly understand and see there was a lot of value in it and put a deal together. Kind of crazy how it all happened.
Yeah, tell me like the numbers and like how it happened.
Yeah, so it was, he wanted about 1.2 for it. Right. And the way that multifamily game works, if you wanted to quickly understand what you actually can pay for a piece of land, you want to begin with the end in mind. So it's all based on, hey, when I finish this apartment complex, what is it worth on the back end? On a per unit basis is how I always think about it. So I know that in that area that a finished unit's going to be worth about $250,000 per unit. And I can work backwards from there. We use what's called the 10% rule. So I'm going to want to pay no more than 10% per unit for the raw land, or 25 grand, right?
Yep.
That's how we look at the value. That's how appraisers typically look at the value. He wanted 1.2 million for the land, or about 14,000 per unit. I knew it was going to get appraised for around 25,000 per unit. So we tied the deal up. At that time, I didn't have much cash. I tied the deal up with $12,300 down. So I put 1% down, tied it up. Then we started doing all of our due diligence, got the team in place, got it all tied up. We had 6 months of due diligence. We started pushing it out to different investors. And, you know, the nice thing about deals like that is once you have them in control and tied up, banks want a loan on multifamily. Investors want to put their money in if you're going to get into the land right. And we tied it up in June. And before we had to release our earnest money for due diligence, we had the appraisal in place. We had all our hard costs in place. The project cost us $19 million to build, all in, and we had an appraisal in place for $23 million. Okay. So we had $4 million of equity creation before we even had to close on the deal. Super easy to sell to investors. And in February of 2022, we closed on it and started building that same year.
So how much did you have to raise to do the deal?
We ended up putting $4.5 million in.
So you need $4.5 million of cash.
Yeah.
The bank provided the rest of the 19.
Correct.
Okay. Everyone knows that my favorite way to build wealth is through real estate investing. That's the reason that I started Wealthy Investor, where we've trained thousands of students. But here's the thing. I've noticed that so many people fail to get started in real estate because they're worried about the money. They don't know where they're going to get the money to buy a house or flip or handle their renovations and things like that. And so they just never get started. I want to change that. And that's why I created a brand new free course that goes over 5 different ways that you could buy houses without using any of your own money today. And I'm going to give you it completely for free. All you have to do is go to wealthyinvestor.com/podcast. I've made it specifically for you. The moment you go to that link, you'll be able to go get access to it and learn how you can start buying houses today without any of your own money. And if you're somebody who already has a real estate business and who wants to scale, we want to help you too. You can click the link below and book a free strategy call with our team if that's you. And then for people who don't know, like, let's just walk through this deal, like how it works actually. So you had to go to investors, get $4.5 million right there at close.
Nope. We had to raise. We only had to raise for the purchase price of the land, $1.2 million.
Okay, so you raised for 1.2 million.
Yep.
Cash.
Yep.
Then what? How did the rest work?
Yeah, so we knew that the total was going to be 4.5, but we didn't have to raise it all at once. Close for 1.2.
Okay.
Right? Get the land, own the land, go and get the entitlements and the permits to build. And then with construction, the nice thing is the bank's not going to make you put all the money in up front. It'll be a trickle to hit your equity threshold, right? So as construction starts, we get construction draws. Let's say the general contractor finished the foundation. He's going to bill us for that. Once we hit that $4.5 million equity threshold, then the loan starts kicking in. So it was a drawn out process, a drip process of cash outlay, right?
So basically you guys had to come up with the first 4.5 million.
Correct.
Like, so there was no loan. It's like, hey, we're paying out of pocket.
Correct.
Each step of the way. We've hit it. Now they'll start funding the rest.
Yep. Based on that appraisal. So we did have clarity on how much we had to raise, right? We knew that based on that appraisal, this is what they'll loan us. They gave us their loan amount, and then we were able to take it through. So.
Yeah. Because at that point, you've got the land as collateral. You've already developed to a certain degree.
Yep.
And so, they gave you, what was that, 75%
Yep.
loan to value?
Yeah, exactly. A little bit higher, but yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So this was in 2022. I mean, we're now at the end of 2023 when we're filming this. So you're already done with that project?
Yeah, we just finished it. We just started leasing.
That was fast.
Yeah, it was like I told you, right? We were able to, that's what I like about the apartment development versus like if you're going to go develop a resort community, that's big picture, right? You got to be patient. You got to be
It's a 20-year game.
It's a 20-year game. So what I like about the apartment is we can get in and out in 24 months, right? In and out in 24 months. And now we're in that phase. The biggest thing with development is there's really 3 big things you have to master. You got to understand your construction cost, your budgets, right? If your pro formas aren't any good because you don't understand your construction cost, if I wasn't in the game myself, if I didn't know what it actually cost to build units, if I didn't know the day-to-day of what it costs, it'd be really hard to do it, right? So you got to know your numbers because you could literally kill a project. Let's say I told everyone that it's a great project, but we built it for 24 million and it's only worth 23. That it happens, right?
Yeah,
So
but it looks great.
but it looks really good. So you got to know your numbers. Then the debt structure is one of the most important things as well, right? I think one of the things that we looked at was, hey, where are interest rates at? We decided to work with a small regional bank and we locked in. A typical process would be you'd get your construction loan, get it stabilized, and then you'd put permanent debt on. We didn't really want to be guessing in today's interest rates where it was going to be at. So we locked in our interest rate, our 11.5-year play, 18 months interest only, and then permanent loan amortized over 30 years with a 10-year balloon. We locked that in up front. So we were able to lock in the debt.
How much?
Go ahead.
How much did you lock it in at?
5.35.
So that was smart.
We underwrote at 6%. So we were happy, right? The classic saying of under promise, over perform.
Yeah.
Right. And then the third thing on the underwriting, we were good on the debt structure. We were good on the budget side. The third component is then what are the rents actually going to be? So what I like about that versus trying to analyze what you're going to be able to sell a house for, rents are way more sticky. 6 months, 12 months, right? We can look at rents and they may flatten, but we're not going to see like in a neighborhood, if somebody decides to sell their house for $50,000 cheaper, that's going to kill our comps, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but with rents, it's a lot more sticky. So that prediction, that kind of future bet, it's much more reliable. And that's the stage we're in now is, hey, what do we perform our rents for? And what are we getting rents for? And we're very blessed that, we underwrote it very conservatively in 3 scenarios, worst case, realistic, best case, and we're hitting our best case rents. So
that's amazing. So how much are they?
The rent is on average is about $1,800.
1,800.
Yeah, on average.
These are 1 or 2 bedrooms?
Higher. It's a mix, 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 1 bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So 84 units, average rent is $1,800.
Yeah.
So what's the NOI looking like it's going to be?
Yeah. From a typical side, right, we'll run at probably 28 to 30% expense ratio there in Oregon, real numbers, right?
Yep.
And the NOI we're landing in that 115 to 120 a month range.
And then
before debt.
Yeah,
right?
Before debt. And what's the cap rates out there right now?
Yeah, that's like a Marquise property. It's like beautiful, really, really good property. They've gone up with interest rates, right? So I would say that's about between a 5.5 to 6 cap right now in today's market, but we wouldn't really be interested in trading it unless it's at 5.5 to 5.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
So just for those listening, right? The reason, basically, I just said a bunch of terms that people don't get. So like the way that you determine the value of a commercial property is that, you're going to take the NOI divided by the cap rate. And so like in this case, when they were like, hey, it's worth 23 million, they were essentially projecting, hey, this property should produce this much net operating income. And based on what properties are trading for, it's basically cap rate. That's what this property is valued at.
Exactly. And so because we had higher rents, it's the value of that property. We'll see how it shakes out, but it's north of 23 million for sure. Yeah,
because just based on you saying the math you said, I mean, like at 180, or sorry, you said 150 a month. Best case.
Yeah, our NOI 120. I would say around.
Okay, so 120 times 12 months. I mean, you're at 1.4-ish million. So let's just say 1.5 million for easy numbers. And then, you divide that by, let's just say 6%. So that's 25 million, even at a 6 cap.
Yep, exactly. At a 6 cap.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where, we look at that and then we also look at, if you look at where I think it's headed, we can hold on to it. We're happy with the cash flow. Is the cash flow phenomenal? No, I mean, it's nothing that's like crazy good cash flow, right? If you study like assisted living, memory care, assisted living, net free cash flow.
It's crazy.
Apartments, $400, $500 net free cash flow, $300 net free cash flow. But as you wait with time, as you know, what that looks like in year 3 and 5 or 7 is a whole different thing. Plus from a cost segregation side, $4.3 million is what we're able to depreciate based on the cost seg. We haven't got our 45L yet, which is all the energy efficiency stuff, but 4.3 million of depreciation to the partnership.
Yeah. And so for anyone listening, basically 4.3 million of depreciation means that, all the investors, I mean, depending on what they put in and everything, are going to be able to split that write-off against, if they're real estate professionals, against their active income, which is crazy. If everyone made 4 million that year, they could wipe out their entire tax bill.
Yeah. Now they're trying to phase that out on us, 80% this year, 60% starting next year. So
yeah. So with that, let's just talk about like, okay, so the apartment's done. You guys are getting leased up and everything's going great. So, in development, like the investors haven't been getting paid anything to this point, right? Because there's been no money coming in. You're just putting money going out. And that's one thing people don't realize about like the development game or even just the fund game in general. It's like, dude, you ain't making money for a long time. And I tell people that because, we have Pineda Capital. And we're in over 600 units now. Yeah. And I'm like, guys, like I have literally like not made anything, just so you guys know. There's a reason I got to hustle and make some content and, flip some houses and throw some events because those are like active income things right now. Yeah. But my rentals, our fund, you make your money when you exit. That's when you make the money.
Yeah. That's when you make all the money. And there's a couple ways you can do it, right? You can, if you like the asset, why I like new construction is if you think about the lifetime of our asset, right? Rather than buying an old one, fixing it up, et cetera.
Oh, bro, give me a new one all day.
Exactly. The lifetime's longer. So there's 2 ways we can get our capital out, right? We can, for example, our rents are higher than we expected. Now the value of the property is 25 million. We could put additional debt on there if it services us and get some cash out. We could go and probably get $1 or $2 million tax-free out of that property. That would be right away in year 1. In year 7, we could look at, hey, do we want to sell it? Or let's say it's worth 30 million at that time because rent's going to grow 2-3% a year, right? We're going to see some good growth there in general.
The cap rates
so we
get back to normal.
Exactly. Yeah. We can sell in 1031 or we can just refinance and have it be a tax-free event. So it's just one of those games. I think the key thing is to look at it, have a business plan, have a couple ways you can pivot and know, just like you said, that capital will sit in there. But when you have that event in year 3, 5, 7, it's going to be great.
Yeah. So for people wondering, right? I mean, you're either on the side of being the developer, which is what you are, and you're going to create the deal and do all the work and everything else. Or you're an investor, right? You had to go raise over $4 million to do this deal. And, the investor, it's passive for them,
Yep.
right? And now they're finally going to start getting cash flow since this thing's going to start, getting rented out and producing cash.
Yep.
How do you as a developer make money? Because I'm saying, well, you don't make money. So how you eating? So what do you do?
Yeah, there's two things. I got similar to you. I've got my general contracting business. I've got my single family specs that I'm building and selling. I'll build for other people as well, right? So that's kind of my operating. But there's also, if you go and control that deal, like I told you, I tied that deal up, just me.
Yeah.
Didn't bring my dad. Nobody was in. It was just me originally, right?
Yep.
And then I go out and we pitch it to different investors. And there's acquisition fees that get layered into projects like that. There's developer fees that get laid into projects like that. And so there's definitely capital that gets paid out. I use it to put straight into the deal, right?
Yeah.
But
so you're buying more equity into it.
You've got it, exactly. Because to me, it's the more property I can accumulate, the happier I am. It's an asset accumulation game. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what I tell people too. Like even with our fund, it's like all the fees just go into paying overhead.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Like if you look at it, it's not like I got good money on the fees. Went straight into the deal. Fees went into paying overhead.
Yeah.
The fees aren't really a money maker. They might get you because you did the hustling. You did the deal. They might get you into the deal. So if you're out there and you're like, you really want to make something happen and you don't have capital, the fees can get your entry into the deal. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's what it was for me, right? I didn't have capital to put in. Mm-hmm. I owned 5% of that deal through a TIC agreement.
Yep.
And a majority of that was based on the development fee.
Yep. So you do that and, obviously you guys are going to be able to do whatever you want here in the coming years. You can refi, you can exit, everything else. Tell me about just like the other deals you're doing, like you said. So you guys are doing spec builds. You guys are doing, you said you got some smaller deals going on too.
Yeah. So we got a 24 unit that's in construction right now. We're the general contractors on that as well. So, that's been going good. That'll get done. I'll call it May of 2024. And it's a smaller deal. It goes back to what we were talking about though, right? It's like it takes just as much energy to do that 24 unit as it does the 84 unit. Mm-hmm. We only have so much time. So we're looking at probably liquidating that and then just focusing on the larger deals. We've got that going. And then I usually have somewhere between 10 to 15 homes under construction as well.
Now, are those 10 to 15, are those usually just like home? Like tell me about like the clientele. Are they just luxury homes for other people? Are they deals you see and you're like, I'm just basically going to flip? Yeah. What are they?
Yeah, but I got two buckets. We'll build for others. Right? From just a customer build for others, operational business. And where I'm going to go, where I want to go ultimately is just building for myself. So I'd say mixed bag, I'm building 4-plex for myself. And then right next door, I'm building one for my buddy. We got 3 specs going. We just sold 2 specs. So it's a mixed bag between building for others, right? And building for ourselves. But ultimately I started that construction company purely to build assets for the family. That's where it's going to go. So as long as I can put enough development deals in front of us, we'll be good. We're developing, we own a beautiful piece of property right by our local hospital there. And we are building our first assisted living facility there as well. So that'll happen this year, 2024.
How many like units and everything is that going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be memory care specific. Oregon's really interesting in where if you look at like the Medicaid programs in general, it's a memory care. It'll be 50 units, 100 beds. So
50 units, 100 beds.
You've got it.
So like an assisted living facility, like is it just pretty much like a multifamily? Like,
well, I mean, you're layering on a massive amount of operation. You're essentially getting into healthcare, right? So you're layering on a bunch of additional operational challenges.
But I'm just saying from the developer.
No, it's way easier, right? Because if you think about building a assisted living facility, we're building common kitchens, not a kitchen in every single unit, and we're building rooms. So the costs per unit are going to come down way more.
It's kind of like a hotel.
You got it.
Yeah, because you're not doing apartments that need all their own stuff.
Exactly. So it's your cost per unit come way down.
What's your cost per unit on those?
Yeah, we're going to land about 100,000 per unit versus on apartments.
250.
Yeah, exactly. On apartments, we land at about, 200. So
Yeah. So, okay.
225, depending on which one you're built, where we're at.
So you're at 100,000 a unit. So you're going to be at like 5 million on that property.
You've got it.
And so what is your projections on that? Because, you were talking earlier that assisted living is great cash flow. So how are you seeing that play out?
Yeah. So, we wouldn't even venture in it if I didn't have, my aunts and uncles have been super successful on the East Coast, Midwest in the assisted living game. They know it through and through, massively successful in it. And so we're venturing into Oregon to just bring that operation into the Pacific Northwest. When you look at after you pay everything, debt, etc., like we talked about on an apartment unit, let's say your net free cash flow is $300, $400, $500. With assisted living, you're talking somewhere between $2,500 to $3,000 per unit. Well, excuse me, per bed.
Per bed. Yeah, because most of these guys are paying what, $5,000 to $8,000.
Depends. Like Medicaid specific programs, you can really figure out what you want to do. There's split ones, private. If you look at the average over in Oregon, I would say it's right around $7,000. A lot of that comes from Medicaid, right? So Medicaid pays $7,000 a month for memory care, and you can do split facilities. So the way we'll develop this is the goal is majority memory care, but we'll also have assisted living ability. And in Oregon, that goes, your assisted living Medicaid programs are in levels. So from $3,500 to $5,500, depending on the care you need, et cetera.
What is memory care? Is it for like people with dementia or
Alzheimer's? Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's Alzheimer's and dementia. Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's its own niche of assisted living.
It's exactly right. It's its own niche of assisted living. And, it's definitely, if you look at like where Alzheimer's are heading, if you look at where baby boomers are heading, right? If you look at just pure numbers, I believe we're going to see still a huge wave of need for assisted living facilities.
Yeah. So you guys are building that. Your family is going to basically handle the operations because they already have that built out. You're mainly focused on the real estate.
Yep.
And then obviously you're going to be able to learn when it's built.
Yep.
How'd you guys build the 84 units so quick? To go be done in basically 18 months, it's crazy.
Yeah, we hired an amazing general contractor who I learned a lot from watching them just for what we could bring into our company, right? And we had a couple benefits happening for us. During COVID, the last 2, 3, 4 years, it was really hard to get subcontractors.
Yeah.
Well, as we started our project,
everything got slow.
Exactly. So we had the luck of like when we bid out our lumber package originally, it was coming in at whatever it came in at. When we purchased it, we saved $310,000. So it was pure luck. Pure luck. And then we also had subcontractors who all of a sudden now they needed an anchor project because interest rates came up. Right? We were already locked in. A lot of the home builders put their projects on halt. And so now all these subcontractors who were busy, they needed a big anchor project. So we just got lucky. Pure luck. And then hiring the right group, right? I would hire those guys through and through all day long again. They were just so good.
Somebody might be thinking, well, Dirk, didn't you just say that you have a construction company? Why didn't you just do it and make the money with your company?
Yeah, it wasn't good enough yet. Needed to see it. It would have taken us, they built it. So we got it approved. They built it in 12 months. It would have taken us 18 all day. So,
yeah,
sometimes you got to be able to see what other people can do. You're just not ready yet. Right. And I know when I'm ready and when I'm not, and I'm not ready yet. So, and honestly, I don't even, if you look at it, what I want to scale is development. I don't want to scale the construction
your GC company.
Yeah, no, not even close. So anyways.
I think too, number one, I want to point out to the viewers that takes an immense amount of self-awareness and humbleness to say that, because number one, GCs are some of the hardest head people I've ever met. And so like you look at this opportunity to build 84 and like whether it's pride or ego, or whatever, it's like a lot of GCs are like, no, dude, I'm gonna build this thing. This is my deal. I want to put my footprint on this and I'm going to do it cheaper and better. Like that's a GC's typical mindset, right? And for you to be like, nah, dude, like I definitely wasn't ready and it's all good. This guy is way better than me and he got it done quicker and I learned a ton from it. That's the mark of somebody who is successful already, but going to continue to be successful. Because one thing I've seen from people, especially in like the coaching program, which you're in too, which I'll talk to you about in a sec, because of like, once again, why even join a house flipping and real estate coaching program when you're kind of like doing something completely different? So I'm curious to hear that. But like when I see people join a program who already are successful, but they're like, look, dude, I still got something I need to learn. It tells me a lot about them versus, you know, I see a lot of people who have had a level of success and they think they know it all. And then they just kind of like stagnate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. To answer your question on the why I joined your program, I mean, it's you, right? It's fully 100% you. Daniel Kong, shout out to Daniel Kong.
Yep.
I had a tax thing at the end of the year and I was like, I got to spend some money on education. And he said, I trust him. At that time, I didn't really have social media. I trusted him. And he's like, Ryan Pineda all day. And I think we even tried to go through the sales funnel with, or you guys tried to take me through. I was like, no, don't worry. Like,
I'm in.
Just take it. We're good. And then I came to your event, and yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things is I live the growth mindset, right? And you said something that really like hit me right in the face, because it's true. Like, if you're an entrepreneur and you're not doing content or you're not doing social media, like, what are you doing? You're an idiot. Like, literally, what are you doing? So I came to your boot camp, and I mean, I knew nothing, right? 5, 6, 7 years, no social media. I used to be like, oh, it's a distraction. It's not a distraction. It's a connection. It's a network. It was so ignorant, so silly. So I come here, bring my family, and you should have seen, I learned so much in one day, but 2 days. I learned so much in 2 days, took so many notes. And then the key for me then was, hey, I got to go put this into practice. So I started putting it into practice, and, you know, it's paid off. I actually, from the program side, things got so busy, I kind of fell off on the program side, but I got so much value out of just one. I'm good. I would recommend it to everybody. So yeah, I mean, it's a kudos to you guys, because you hit so many different things. You've got so many different programs, and, you know, I believe that if you want to learn something, go and pay somebody. You say the same thing, but go and pay somebody. So you don't have to sell me. I paid 25 grand all day. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I would pay 50 grand. Just so everybody knows, I would pay 50 grand for what I learned.
I appreciate that, dude.
If you're watching this show, my guess is you're probably an entrepreneur who's trying to grow your business. And for me, the best thing I ever did to grow my business was build my personal brand on social media. It's allowed me to get more revenue. It's allowed me to raise more capital, and it's allowed me to hire better talent. And if you are not currently creating content for your brand, you're missing out, and your competition is. So if you want to learn to grow, my advice is to create a podcast. Now, there's a lot that goes into building a podcast and why I believe it's the best way. So I've actually created a free training that I want you to go check out. If you go to pinedamedia.com/podcast, you can go access the free training right now and see how a podcast is going to be the best decision to grow your personal brand today. So go check it out by clicking the link below, and I'll see you in the training.
Yeah, I think it's funny because some of like we do get guys who, you know, because like you said, we have a lot of programs, right? So whatever somebody's trying to specialize in, we try to help them. Mm-hmm. But we obviously aren't developers, right? Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because like one of my other good friends who started in the program, Amr Samaha, he's been on the show, and he's a developer too. Nice. And you know, I remember before we became great friends, I was like, so why did you join? Like, just I'm genuinely curious. And you know, it was a similar thing. He's like, you know, like, I just want to know what you know. Even, you know, I can apply it to everything I do, whether it's hiring, whether it's getting deals and thinking about things in different ways. And his main thing was, for him, he didn't have another way of making money beyond development. Yep. And so he initially thought, maybe I'll start a, you know, wholesaling or a house flipping business. And then I remember we did a little mastermind a couple of years ago, and I was like, why are you going to go and try and learn this? Yeah. Like, you're so good already at this. There's ways to make money today, you know, with your construction and architectural and everything background. And I was like, you're already looking at all this land deals. Why you got to take them all down yourself? Yeah. You know, why not just start entitling land and getting it done and flip them, you know, like easy money in that. And I've met a lot of people who do that.
Yeah, it's good advice. I had a similar thing. I'm like, hey, do I want to create other streams? I'm like, no, just keep the main thing, know what I want to scale, right? And that's the development side. I will say one thing, there's a lot of hunger for like people who, let's say they're in real estate They've maybe done the wholesale, they've done the flip, and they're looking for something. They're looking for something else. There is a lot of hunger in there. I was sort of testing it out, seeing like, hey, are people interested in construction? Like what I call the business side of building, right? You think I move? I've never swung a hammer in my life. Like all the guys, they call me the pencil pusher. I love it. I love it. I'll be the business builder all day, baby. I know the numbers. I know how to entitle. I know how to unlock land. That's all I'm focused on. It's a blueprint, right? Well, I'll hire the experts who know how to do the excavation, the concrete, the framing. I just need to know a little bit, mainly the numbers. I mean, that's, if you want to be a business person, mainly the numbers, right? So I know the numbers. Nobody can mess with me. I know the numbers better than I would say. Like I will. If you try to get me, I know the numbers.
I know where you're trying to
the game.
Pull one.
Exactly. I know the whole game. I've been through it, and so that's the only thing you had to master. And then the business side of building, right? How to do the contracts, how to put the deals together, the permitting,
the insurance, all the stuff that's important. Yeah.
And quite frankly, no matter what, if you look at anything, that's where the money is. The person who owns the business, who is the business side of building, right? That's where the money is. There's not huge money in being a subcontractor. You can do well over time, but if you really look at and study where throughout history where the money's made, it's not in doing the actual work, it's putting the work together. So that's what we do, the business side of building, and it is a template, it is a blueprint, it is a step-by-step process, right? So I wanted to see it, like, are people hungry for learning that? And there are quite a bit of people who are hungry for it. So it's one of the things I was thinking about and playing around was like, hey, can we build a personal brand? And then can we potentially, are there courses that, will people actually buy courses? Would they be interested? We tried to throw our first event, which was so hard. Kudos to you guys that you guys can do 1,000 people.
Yeah.
You know how much, if anybody's ever tried to put on an event, it is insane. We did 35 people. Granted, I came up with the idea and 2 months later we threw the event.
Yeah.
But it is so much work. But it was just to test out, right? Do people want to learn about the ground up game is what I call it, right? Buying land, building from the ground up. And there's people out there that are hungry, that want to know how to do it. And it is truly a blueprint. So.
Yeah. No, I love it. So what was your conclusion after throwing the event? I mean, obviously people want to learn it.
Yeah, it was super fun. I loved it. It was so much work. And I was like, what am I actually doing this?
You could have made probably a lot more money just focused on the business.
You got it, brother. So I was like, it was so much work. I had nothing to sell, right? And so to me, I said, was it rewarding? Yeah. One of the passions I really do have a passion to help people and to educate. I had a terrible time in school, like regular school just didn't work for me. I had dyslexia. Just the system itself wasn't good. And so because of the dyslexia and the regular school path, I always told myself for a long time, I was like, hey, I had the story of like, oh, I'm dumb, forget school.
Yeah.
So, that one of my passions is to provide people with true education, stuff that they can like feel, touch, see, and go and build whatever they want to build, right? You could, if you want to build just 1 or 2 homes a year, you could make $100,000 to $200,000 a year. Yeah. Have a completely different lifestyle, right? Do whatever you want. Like what the energy that would take after learning the process and taking some risk is a completely different thing. So I do have a passion for helping people or educating people on what I've learned. And it actually helps me refine what do I actually know? Like how smart, how have I mastered this or not? And when you go and try to teach someone, you're like, I don't know if I fully mastered this yet. There's a lot more to learn, baby. So.
Yeah. I don't know. Wait, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that.
Exactly.
So, but I mean, like somebody who's listening to this, they're like, dude, Dirk, like I really want to learn, or, I want to work with you guys. Like, where could they do it? Like just hit you up on where?
Yeah, they can hit me up on Instagram. Just, the Dirk Vandervelde. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. Those are really the two big ones. We've got a YouTube channel. We took a little bit of a break. I was real all in. I took a little break over the last month, but then you'll see me really start ramping up. I'll pick your brain a little bit on some ideas and whatnot, but that would be where you can see us pushing stuff out. And then maybe one day, Wealthy Way will launch a development.
Dude, we might have to just do it. We, well, number one, right? I think anybody listening to this, they could learn a ton from you. So either way, hit you up. And I think investors and everyone too. I mean, everyone's looking for a place to put their capital right now. And, with the market predicted to be very good going in 2024 with low rates and everything, I think, you're going to see a lot more capital start flowing into deals.
Yeah. Yeah. We're angling, for example, a lot of people put a halt on their projects from a single family side. And I was like, no, like rev up, baby. Because what I think is going to happen, and the only place to look at really is what is the Fed releasing, and they're releasing, they've done, if you look at the last 2 years and you read their reports and you look at the Fed dot plot, they've done what they said they were going to do. So when I look at where interest rates going to go and what did Jerome Powell just announce, we're going to have 3 cuts. Well, guess what? I've got product that in spring and summer of 2024 comes online just when those rates are being cut. In this plan, could we have been wrong? Sure. And what would have happened if we're wrong and they raised it? Well, we would have just been pinched in our margins a bit. Okay, I just sold 2 houses, and rather than making 80 or 100 grand, we made 40 grand. Okay,
that's life.
It's life. We move forward, move on. But it's fun to make that little bet and kind of go zig when others zag, right? I mean, I think that's really important. If you want to be successful in anything, you got to turn your back to the crowd.
Yeah. I've always done that. I've always just kind of went to my own drum, and like you, it's just about taking risk and following your gut. And at the end of the day, right, knowing the numbers and the risk associated with it. And so for you, it's like you started to do these infill lots and everything when others were like, oh man, dude, I don't know what's going to happen. And you took a bet that, hey, 2024 is going to be better when all my product comes out. But even if it's not, we'll still be okay because we're still underwriting the deals properly.
Yeah, we're being conservative. One thing I appreciate when I watch you guys and what you built, one, I look up to what you built, but I can see that it's like tip of the iceberg, right? So that's what attracts me in general about being part of your program, all the things. I'm like, it's just tip of the iceberg for these guys. Like they're literally just revving up. Look what they've done, but they're just revving up. That's what I see. So
yeah,
just my hat's tipped to you on that.
No, sure. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's funny because when I look at what we've built, to your point, just like thinking of the events, since we were talking about how hard it is to run events, we just started running events like 2 years ago, like at hotels. Yeah. I think our first event at a hotel was in 2022. Mm-hmm. And then, went from like 200 people to 300 people to a few hundred, and it's like, now it is what it is. And I think this next event will be our biggest. We should probably have like 1,300 people, I would guess. And then I actually think we could do 2,000 on the next one, but I don't know that I'm going to have a venue big enough. I actually think I might get constrained by the venue. Yeah. And it ain't easy to do. That's for sure. Like to run the operation, to sell that many tickets, to create a great experience, to market and sell, to get the speakers, to fly everyone in, to know how you want to like run a show, just the entire thing to make it a great experience. And there's a lot that goes into it. But like, then I think about it and I'm like, we kind of did what nobody's really done in less than 2 years. And we still are just like figuring it out. Like you said.
Yeah. Just wait. I mean, you guys, hands down, you'll be selling out arenas. We don't know how quick, but it'll compound on itself, right? Look at, you always talk about the first one you went to was Grant Cardone. Mm-hmm. You will grow into doing this similar thing in your own style, your own way, but that amount of people. Yeah, it's inevitable. Look how quickly it's already grown.
Yeah. So what's your plan for you?
Yeah, I think 2024. It's we're focused on operational efficiencies. From a general contracting business, I had to invest in actually bringing people on. I'm sure you remember what that's like, right? So now you're bringing on.
Remember, I still do it every day.
Yeah, well, but there's a stage of when you're first doing it, right?
Oh yeah.
Right, because that was the first. That's a big adjustment, right? When you go from no employees to 5 to 7, right?
Yeah, and like, dang, this is different.
I mean, and now you're just going boom, ba boom, ba boom. Yeah. But originally to try to replace myself, I mean, that was a big investment, right? I mean, I got 2 executives that I'm a superintendent and a project manager that I'm now paying high salaries, and that was a big adjustment, big investment. So we'll focus on operational efficiencies. I don't really feel like, because I'm not trying to scale the general contracting business, so I don't need to layer on more stuff there. I just need to perfect the standard operating procedures and get it to run itself, right? 2024, operational efficiencies, standard operating procedures, hand this thing off and have it run itself in the next 6 to 12 months so that 10 to 20% of my time's there. And then the remainder of the time is in putting development deals in front of us. So we'll put development deals in front of us that we self-perform on. I really want to break into that assisted living because I think that there's a ton of opportunity if you look at the wave that's coming. I like the cash flow behind it. There's still development opportunity for it. So there's this perfect storm, in my opinion, coming of we're going to need more assisted living. It's great cash flow. So you'll see me really drive into that in 2024. And then we've got a huge piece of property that we're annexing in right now, which is going to take a ton of focus. 65 acres coming into Bend, and that'll, once we're successful in that'll.
What do you mean you're annexing in 65 acres?
Yeah, so every town, city area has an existing city limit and then an urban growth boundary. They're all required to have a 20-year comprehensive plan of like, hey, based on our growth, our population growth, and the needs of our city, and maybe it's not like that in other states, but in Oregon, they're all required to have a comp plan, a comprehensive plan. And, based on that comprehensive plan that's required by the state, each city will take their urban growth boundary and they'll actually move it out during phases to meet the demands of that comp plan because more land has to be annexed into the actual city. So if you ever study like really smart developers, the number one builder in the Pacific Northwest builds 2,000 homes a year. I know all the land. His father was buying land outside of the urban growth boundary, 40 acres, 50 acres, for what seemed like farmland, seemed like land that would never be brought in. He is today building on that land. And guess what he's doing? Because he's a smart man. If you watch any 40, 50, 60 acre parcels that are being purchased right now outside of the urban growth boundary, it's this guy.
He's still just doing it.
He's doing it because he knows that in 10, 15 years, when that gets annexed in, the value of that property will be substantial. So point being, we have a 65 acre piece that we're annexing in, and it'll be 650 apartment units over the next 15 years. It's 150 residential lots. And then there's a light industrial that'll be moved as well. So it's on that one, we're really doing the land play. So we're negotiating with a regional builder and D.R. Horton right now to buy the lots. We've actually got a great offer from D.R. Horton. It's just hard to work with those big national guys. And you'll see me really focus on that because I think that could be a huge catalyst for our development arm in Oregon in 2025. Yeah.
So with that, like, how do you know what is like, well, I guess it's annexed in. So it's like in another city right now. Like, where is it?
It's in the county. So it's
okay.
Yeah. So it's like the urban growth boundary. Let's say you draw, the city of Bend, Oregon, where it's at. They have a boundary. And then when they do that comp planning, they say, hey, we're going to expand this way. And it goes from Deschutes County, which is our local county, then into the city.
Got it.
So it goes out of county into city.
So, because no one lives there or anything right now. It's just like
there's a house on it, but it's on 65 acres. So it's those rural areas that, if you have cash and you wanted to do a land play like those guys are doing, buying those rural areas, if you can sit on it for 10 to 15 years.
So like you're buying it for how much?
$14.5 million.
And then what's it worth once it's annexed in?
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. For the residential lots, which is 25 acres, we have an offer for just under $24 million. Now you have to put infrastructure in, but there you go. That's the game, just like we talked about, right? They're not making more land, and there's a lot of value creation. Just like you told your friend, why don't you just entitle land and flip it? There's a lot of value creation in entitlements. Yeah.
So do you see that as something you're going to do with all this other stuff? Because I mean, like, to me, that seems the easiest way to like make some quick cash.
Yeah. So you hit it spot on, right? It's like, where's all the time and where can it all go? So get the
construction.
Get it running itself and then focus on more of that. I mean, that deal, that's where, if you look at like, if I were to ask myself, where do I make the most per hour? It's doing those deals.
Yeah.
100% through and through.
Well, the cool thing about like those deals too, and I don't know how this deal came about or anything, but like, okay, you get this deal, you lock it up so anyone you could own the deal 100% for now.
Yeah.
Right. But the moment, you got to go raise $20 million, well then, you're going to bring investors in and however that gets split, it gets split. But for the paper, you just got the paper, and then, if you get a long due diligence and you go and through this process of entitling and finding the DR Hortons and the bidders and the buyers, and, all of a sudden you got offers for 25 million. It's like, well, dude, at that point you can just sell the paper and you don't really need to have anyone else involved. And it's just pure cash to you.
Yeah, it's definitely, that project's definitely kind of like pinch. Even the 84 unit, I'm like pinching myself. I'm like, is this real? On that project, guess how much we put down?
How much?
We put $25,000 down on a $14.5 million purchase price. That's it. And then the rest of it, the negotiations on that, right? Like it's all about how do we frame and how do we talk to people, right? One, they have to believe in you. So very blessed, extremely blessed, because people see the resort, they see Tethero, they see what's been done.
Yeah.
I have that name.
You have credibility.
Yeah, 100%. If I was just a Joe, it doesn't work that way. So I do not, like, I know that very clearly, and I'm so grateful and so blessed for that. But then how do you use that to your advantage, and how do you properly structure a win-win deal? I mean, we didn't want to have a bunch of money sitting there in earnest. So it's just conversations with sellers, right? Hey, we're going to go spend all this money to improve your property. Worst case, we pull out. Here's a clause. You have the rights to all the work. You're going to be able to, we're going to add a ton of value to your property. If we decide not to close, which, by the way, after due diligence, we've never not closed on a deal, then you get the rights. But we don't want to have all this money just sitting in escrow, not working for anyone, right? And most sellers, if they think about that, they would agree with that. So that's how we were able to have those conversations, have those sit downs, create a win-win situation, and then, get that deal teed up. So yeah, kind of crazy.
And so what do you think ends up happening on that deal?
Yeah, it's been interesting. If you look at
how long have you been working on it?
Yeah, we've been working on it for 6 months, 6 to 8 months. The city has to bring sewer in. So nothing really happens from a construction side until spring or summer of 2025. We've got, the way the contract's set up, we've got at annexation, we have got a capital commitment. So we're working through making sure we can really have it all be finessed. And part of that is deciding, we've got this offer from DR Horton, but when you look at their contracts or you study those big, they're a public company, right? So if you look at those contracts and you study what's happened in the past with guys like that, part of their job is get as much work ahead of us for our reporting as possible, right? So they might give you a great offer, but how real is it? We have to really feel that out. We've been doing a lot of communicating and conversations about that. Or do we go with the smaller regional builder who we trust, that we can work with? So we're trying to work that out. And by March of 2024, we're trying to have an actual contract in place, have it set up to know who's going to buy the residential, and then we'll let the rest of it unfold. So, yeah. So
would your goal be to, obviously you'd make a profit on the residential, and then you'd keep the rest and develop it?
You got it. Yeah. I mean, not actually, we've also had a couple of people say, hey, we want some multifamily sites. So we would sell like anything, right? We'll sell anything, but the goal,
just whatever is the best thing. Yeah. Like, okay, you want those for 20? All right, cool. All right, you're going to give me this. Okay, cool. You know what? I'll sell it all.
Yeah.
Or okay, now I only have 10% of it left, and that's where I'll do my own development.
Exactly. So if we can go low risk and just flip the paper, we'll do that all day.
Yeah.
But most likely what'll end up happening is we'll sell the residential, we'll start developing a little bit of the commercial, and then we'll sell it all off as that area of town just continues to boom.
So is your focus just on Bend, since that's what you know best, or you looking for opportunities everywhere? What's the deal?
Yeah. So I've had a lot of success in like those secondary markets too. So Bend, like if it's like a 30 to 50 mile radius. And my dream and what I'm working on right now is breaking out into other states. So I've got a project we're doing due diligence on right now in Idaho. It's a 64 unit project. We'll test it out with 8 units to prove it. These are for sale townhomes. We'll test it out to prove it. And then we're working on a contract right now for first right of refusal on the remainder of them. But I got to prove it out, right? I got to make sure that it's kind of those baby steps. I want to be in multiple markets, so I got to make sure I can get it. We're not going to general contract it, but I'm working on getting that teed up. You'll probably see us in spring of 2024 break into Idaho. And then we're doing due diligence on a piece in Bozeman right now as well.
So you're going into Montana, Idaho, you're in Oregon. It's interesting because I've thought about what markets interest me for a potential golf course development. Yeah. And those are a lot of the markets I've been thinking about because they're very just scenic. You know, the scenery is amazing. Yeah. But one thing I don't like is obviously it's not year-round golf. So I don't like that. So my question is like, what are some of the challenges you face in those markets, at least building? You know, is it tough to build since, you know, you get snow and all this stuff or what?
We'll build right through it. There's ways to build right through the snow, ground thaw machines, etc. It slows timelines down, but it's not too big of a deal. On your golf course side, I do agree, right? It's not year-round golf. So what you really have to focus in on is that membership. Those memberships are year-round, so that keeps you going and rocking. But I think for you to, one, because you're passionate about it, two, because of your brand, I love that idea for you. I think that you'll really be able to create something that people are going to want to buy into. So that's, you know, and I think that it's definitely not an easy game, the development. There's a ton of risk and a ton of capital that it takes, but it's super rewarding. And like you said, on the back end, you can create a massive amount of wealth. So
yeah, I look at you know, because I just been to a lot of golf courses, and I'm like, man, we're in the U.S. It's like a good year-round location, but also has scenery and stuff. And it's like you look at California and everything, and you know, California is beautiful, but you know, it's California. So getting anything approved there is like going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
And so I look at like, I love Latin America and Mexico and everything. And it's just year round, just awesome. But you know, it's not America. So I've been really kind of like conflicted on where in America to go because I love the scenery of the Northwest. And then, you know, you start to look at the coast of Oregon and California, and those are great. But, you know, they all have their pros and cons of like mainly weather or politics in California.
And Oregon.
Yep. And then I'm like, everyone's like, go to Texas. And I'm like, where's the scenery in Texas and stuff like those places, you know?
What's your favorite course you've ever been to?
This course in the Dominican called Playa Grande. It's like 13 holes, like literally off a cliff.
Yeah.
It's like Pebble Beach.
Yeah.
But better.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's kind of like my mind is like, I'm thinking I'm a weather guy. I like just year round tropical stuff. I don't like the cold.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You don't want to, I mean, then, you know, you're definitely in Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, you're going to have the cold, right? California, you won't, but you got the red tape. The only thing about that red tape and that challenge is like, it's hard to get it approved. But because it's hard to get it approved, if you get there and once you get it approved, that actually is kind of like, I kind of in one way like that because it will take a lot of work, be really hard to do, but a lot of people are going to veer away from it. So there might be a little bit of a opportunity. You work through that headache and all of a sudden other people who don't want it, you've put yourself at an advantage. So, yeah. But I mean, again, there's the taxes are a big issue. People who live there they love it, but they get hit hard. So,
Well, I think in most of these though, like people aren't living there full time, so they don't have to deal, you know, with the income tax.
What about Arizona?
I mean, it's a desert.
Yeah, you want scenery. Oh, that's
yeah. I know Arizona's got like cool places like Flagstaff and stuff. Those are cool. What Sedona or something? Yeah. Didn't
the real estate guys they went to like, where did they go? You know, the real estate radio show. Didn't those guys go and develop like
I have no idea.
They went to Belize. They went to Belize and they developed like a bunch of communities. I don't think a golf course, but it would be interesting to get connected with them and talk to them about, you know, what it was like because they're in the US, what it was like. They use their platform to get a lot of people to come over to Belize, to buy into Belize, to invest in Belize. Be interesting to see what that was like because one of the things when you talk about beautiful scenery, like you said, Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, those places are stunning. And maybe that is a place to really think about and study and say, hey, I think some of my group can come in and invest there, right? That the real estate radio guys, they did that. They really did that. And then they would have big events in Belize and people would come and invest in their communities they were building. So something to study maybe or think about.
Yeah. Well, so I'm buying in Costa Rica right now. So like beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah.
And, I go to Mexico all the time. So I definitely like international, but I don't know. There's just like this thing in my mind that's like, well, dude, you've never done this before. So you should probably like do it in the lowest risk way possible, which, stay stateside.
Yeah.
But then again, screw it, like just do it. And, I had, what's it called? I had, Jerome Maldonado on. And so we were talking about development. And one thing we were talking about was the politics of getting things approved.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with you trying to annex into Bend, I'm sure there's just like all this politic crap you got to deal with. But I'm like, yeah, I guess in Latin America, it'd be way easy to get something approved. It's just freaking pay the right guy and it's done.
Yeah. See, now you're thinking right. I'm telling you, talk to those guys, talk to those guys, talk to the real estate guys. I can't remember their name, but they did it. So they'll be able to tell you all the pain points. You could literally fast track your learning from all the pain points that they had. And the good thing though, even though it's hard and it's red taped, etc., like the good thing about the US, just like you said, is there's zoning and development code. And the city, if you follow zoning and development code, they cannot stop you. That is just what it is. So they can drag it out, they can be annoying, they can do all that. But as long as you follow the code and you're not trying to upzone or trying to rezone or trying to get a conditional use approval, if you can just take a piece of property and based on the zoning, do what's within their playbook, they can't block you.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that.
Yeah. Do you think you'll build a golf course or anything?
Right now, I'm focused on getting as much cash as I possibly can. And then I think I'll move into wanting to do legacy things on the, on the backside. Right now, I'm like, analyzing, what's my quickest path towards good cash, right? That's why you'll see me move into that assisted living, because I really believe there's a lot of opportunity that'll present itself there. And then, being able to, would it be a dream come true to develop a resort? Yeah, it's one of my things I've written down as a goal. I just think it'll be 10 to 15 years from now.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is, and I'm glad you brought this up because I tell people this all the time. So many people want to build long-term wealth, which is great. Everybody should, but they want to do it first. They're like, hey, I got to buy rentals now and start accumulating. Hey, I got to, get the legacy thing done now. Yeah. And it's like, no, dude, make some quick cash now because that's going to be, number one, you got to live. So figure out what's going to pay you today. Number two, you're always going to need to make money. Yeah. So like, even if you have this legacy asset and stuff, odds are it's probably not even making you that much. You can, like you said, you just built an amazing 84 unit building. People would be like, dude, I'm done. Yeah. It's like, well, no, okay. You're still not even making that much money right now. You have to still figure out how to make some quick cash today doing something. And that's why, like, I'm always been a big advocate of flipping and wholesaling, because I'm like, look, something's got to make the money today that you can just always count on, not, a thing that could pay you 5 years from now. Yeah. Like, what can you do today? And that's like, even when I talk to developers, I'm like, guys, you got so many skills. You don't have to build every property you get. Yeah. What if you could be working on 10 of these entitlements at once? Yep. You're not going to take all 10 of them down. Take the best one you want and then go flip the rest of them and make that money.
Yeah, it's good advice, and I agree, right? We always have to have multiple buckets, because if one's going bad, which inevitably it will, you got to rely on the other one. So
how do you plan to scale out? Okay, here's the problem I found though with development, and I've thought about, man, how do you like fix this problem? So like with flips and wholesales, it's very simple, like as far as training staff and teaching them. Yep. But like, the process of going through an entitlement and, the skill that it takes. And I don't know, in my mind, I'm like, to me, it seems much harder to find the talent to be able to do that.
Yeah. The good part about that is, as the developer, you're just bringing the pieces of the puzzle together, right? So Mountain Home, the civil engineers and the architects that we're using for the Mountain Home project in Idaho, different group than what we use in Oregon, right? So it's the way you scale it is, we don't have to, if you look at like and I don't know about your friend, but if you look at the development side, what I like about scaling that is those are third party, right? I don't have to have the civil engineers in-house. I don't have to have the architects in-house. I don't have to have the general contractors in-house. I have to have the understanding of how to unlock a piece of land. I have to have the right pro formas, understand the market, and then I can bring all these third parties in to do all the work, right? They do all the work. They get the entitlements done. You oversee the plan of it, but they do all the entitlements. They do all the paperwork. They do all
I guess where I'm thinking about is just the acquisition side. Like, how do you create such a robust acquisition team who can handle identifying lands, negotiating, entitling?
Yeah, that's
because it's like so creative.
Yeah, you're 100% correct on that. That's the thing that me myself I'm working on. The best way I've been able to do it so far is just through relationship building, right? So who I want to go into this market? Well, who's one of the names around here? Who are the big real estate brokers around here who are selling land, right? And how do I build a trusting relationship with them so they know that we're serious, because they don't want to waste their time, right? They're only paid on commission. So I would say that's through the real estate brokers, letting them do a lot of your acquisition work for you. But I agree with you. That's a hard thing to work on scaling. It just takes time. Building relationships do take time. So, it's a really good point. And
yeah, because like, every land deal I've done, freaking crushed it.
Yeah.
But I can't teach it and replicate what I did.
Yeah. Because it was unique. It was, exactly. You knew it. You had to take the pieces of the puzzle.
Oh, yeah. And I enjoy it too, because it's a creative thing. A house flip's not creative. It's like, okay, that's the house. All right, just freaking let's go. Just fix it. And it's not, there's some nuance to it, but land is truly, dude, this could be worth nothing. It could be worth millions depending on the idea.
Could you, for example, if you get really good at your buy box, could you have a good, strong buy box and then have acquisition manager, have sales guys, or have people who understand that buy box go and properly network with the areas you're targeting, because it's all in the real estate brokers, right? That's where it's all in. It's all in the real estate brokers. 84 unit deal and 65 acre deal, same broker. Yeah. Right. So could you get a really good buy box, use your marketing, your ability for sales, et cetera, and go and build those relationships in the areas that are being targeted? That would be one way I would see scale being able to occur. But you'd have to be, like anything, right, super clear on what your buy box is. Beardy Brandon did it, right? He said, like, this is my exact buy box. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be, and then he was able to wave across the entire United States and pick up. I don't know what he's done now. He just exploded the thing. So
yeah, we well, like for me, my buy box has been for my own personal residences. So I haven't been like looking, for like, oh, this would be a great, multifamily thing, because that's not what I'm looking for. And I think this is important for people to know, is that it's good when you are looking for a specific thing. So I like that you're like, look, I'm hyper focused on this right now. I'm going to just focus on my city and the areas around me. And I'm going to look for things I can develop assisted living and, multifamily on. For me, like my first land deal was buying, a mountain that I wanted to build my dream home on. And so like, I knew it was so undervalued, because guess what? I spent hours and hours and hours looking around the city for what I would want. And it occurred to me how undervalued this particularly was compared to comps right next door selling for, 5 times the price. And so, I ended up getting this deal for $600,000, and right now it's listed for 5.5. And so it's just like, and that was only a few years ago.
Yeah.
And same thing with this Costa Rica property. Like I was like, all right, I'm looking for a second home. I'm going to start just looking at land in like different countries now. I'm not even looking like in Costa Rica specifically. I'm looking at, hey, as a rich person, where would I want to go like live as a second home? There's lots of options that rich people live in as far as international. And so I started looking at like Cabo. That was my first look. I'm like, Cabo, I love Cabo. It's freaking like 2 hours away flight from Vegas. It's great. And then I saw how expensive it was. I was like, dude, this is literally the same price as California. Yeah. This is supposed to be Mexico. I thought it's cheap. Yeah. And it's not. Cabo is the same as California, just you can't get a loan.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a tax write-off.
So it's even worse.
Yeah, it's worse. And I was like, man, okay, Cabo ain't it.
Yeah.
So I started looking around and like, I just started doing my own research, and that led me to the Dominican, because I was in the Dominican a couple years ago. And I remember looking at the real estate and I was like, dude, this is only like a couple $1,000,000 for like this massive mansion, like on the beach. I was like, that's crazy, because this weather's great. Everything's sick for $2 million. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. That same Cabo house is $20 million.
Exactly.
So it opened my mind. And so I went to the Dominican, just kind of like observed and checked it out. And I understood kind of like just from having it focus on it, what it was. And I was ready to commit there. And then I just thought about it. And I was like, man, the only thing I don't like about the Dominican, me personally, is the travel.
How long it takes.
Yeah, because I got to go to Miami, which I already hate going to Florida because it's so far for me. It's like, that's 5 hours. Then the Dominican's another like couple hours from there. So there's always a layover. And then like this particular community from that airport was another couple hours. So I'm like, dude, the commute is like brutal just to get there. So then my friend tells me about Costa Rica, and I'm like, okay, Costa Rica is much closer. The commute's way easier.
What is it?
I think it was like 7 hours with us going to Houston or to like Texas, and then Texas direct there.
Yeah.
And if there is a direct, it'll be way, I don't even know. It might end up being like 4 hours or something. Right. So maybe one day there'll be a Vegas direct, which would be great. Or I'll just have a jet. So that'd be great too. So, but Costa Rica, I went there and I'm like, okay, the weather's great. The time zone's great. It's quick. I'm just going around the island. No, it's not an island. Sorry. I'm Dominican.
Coast, yeah.
I'm going around, just the country. And I'm like, dude, this is actually like super tropical and it's cool. And, by the time I just looked at the prices and everything, I was like, all right, this is a deal. I know like basically, I think from my own perspective, I'm like, I know there's other people like me who like these kinds of communities, like golf, are looking for this exact product. And I know they're going to look at the same things I look at, because that's just how it is. Yeah. And I'm like, they're going to see that this is way undervalued for what you get for the price compared to other countries. Yep. And I mean, like even right now, that land, it's locked up. I've got, multiple six figures in EMD on it. Yeah. It's very different. But I know I could flip it now for over 7 figures of profit. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I still might,
exactly.
I don't know.
Whatever you decide.
Yeah. But that's the point. And I just kind of looked at it and I'm like, but there's no way I could have ever like made that a business, because I know what the guy like me wants, who's going to buy this.
Yeah. That's hard to scale. I agree with you through and through. But one thing I think we just found out is Costa Rica's got to be on the list of at least places you're looking to develop your course, man.
Oh, bro, Costa Rica is legit. Yeah. I like Costa Rica a lot. Yeah. I like Mexico a lot too. I just think not Cabo. Cabo is like already. I love Cabo, but it's like it's not undervalued anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, people know it's done.
20 years ago, maybe is a different story.
For sure. Right. Well, bro, it's exciting what you're doing. Super grateful for the kind words. I'm excited. We're going to go golf tomorrow. So I'm excited for that. Yeah, me too. And it's going to be just cool to see what you do these coming years with development and finding these deals. And I think my biggest advice to you would be figure out how to scale what I just told you I couldn't figure out how to scale, because I think your buy box is very different than, the guy looking for a second home buy box. I think if you can just replicate you on finding these, these land deals for annexing or for assisted living, dude, you'll freaking crush it.
It's good advice. I'll take it up, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you want to connect with Dirk, we'll link to his Instagram down below. Maybe you want to invest with him. Maybe you want to partner with him. Maybe you want to learn from him. Great dude who's willing to help. So go check him out, and we will catch you on the next episode. Peace. Good job, dude. That was good.
Yeah, thanks, man. You built a crazy thing, dude. Good job.
Dude, I'm trying, man. Where'd the name come from?
With Momenticize?
Yeah.
I was on a run, and I was like, hey, what does Momenticize do for me? Or what does running do for me? And I was like, oh, momenticizes me, and it's sort
Just some fake word.
Yeah, fake word. I made it up.
That's funny.
So, yeah,
It momenticizes me.
Yeah, that's what we did. So yeah.
Is this cuts?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just made a cuts one.
I told you, dude. I look up to you, man. So it's
Just get the cuts, get the.
Yeah, that's right.
The cuts does it the best.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
You got the, but I don't have no tats.
Yeah, that's all right.
Tats.
You don't need the tats.
I need to get tatted up, dude.
Sweet. That was good, man. Thank you.
Once you do one home, you know you never want to do one again because it's a waste of time. You want to do a minimum of 2 at a time. You got to build a business model that's recession proof. People try to push deals and they try to convince themselves that it's a good deal even if it's not.
The shortest cycle in real estate would be wholesale.